Hello and welcome to Heart Yoga Radio. We're having another walk through the Welsh Hills today. The weather is very cold here in the beginning of December. Beautiful blue sky though, and delightfully low wind, so we decided to leap out of bed, run up the hill, take the opportunity to do another episode in the Lao Tzu series, seeing as we haven't done one of them for a while. So this is chapter 55. So let's have a little read through this and see what we think.
Those who have true te are like a newborn baby. And if they seem like this, they will not be stung by wasps or snakes or pounced on by animals in the wild or birds of prey. A baby is weak and supple, but his hand can grasp your finger. He has no desire as yet, and yet he can be erect. He can cry day and night without ever getting hoarse. Such is the depth of his harmony. It's stupid to rush around. When you fight against yourself, it shows in your face. But if you can draw your sap from your heart, then you will be truly strong. You will be great.
So then, what do you think Lao Tzu was thinking about when he wrote this one, Dr. Yates?
As usual, he was trying to help us. And
sorry for laughing.
Yeah. And that's what it's about. And again, this is advice, on how to comport yourself and how to do your meditations and attend to your observances and how to be, effective as a force for good in the world. These kind of issues that people have, and Lao Tzu, for some reason, puts himself forward to offer us some advice about many of the pitfalls, dangers, advantages and virtues of living in such a way. So he's recommending to be like a newborn baby.
Well, I've been meditations where I've been exactly like a newborn baby, which is great, as long as you don't have to kind of leap up and teach a yoga class or function in the world or
drive a bus,
or cook dinner, or basically do anything.
Or drop an hydrogen bomb on a city. Or any of these things that people have to do.
Yeah. Anything
yeah. But I mean, let's.
I'll just tell a little story here. That's just when the newborn baby meditation. I was preparing to teach a yoga class years ago, and I would normally do a bit of meditation just before people turned up, just like 40 minutes before going downstairs to get the yoga room ready. And I went in deeper than normal. I thought, oh, this is nice. I was kind of really, really deep in the meditation, and the doorbell went. I thought, ah, shit, somebody's early. So I pulled myself out of the meditation and just staggered downstairs and opened the door. And there were these two women who'd never been before. And I was really trying to speak because my mouth wasn't really working, and the bit of my brain that dealt with language was just floating in the infinite universe, and not really wanting to come back and do anything.
Yeah.
And so I really, really tried to be normal, to pretend to be normal to these women, these very, very normal women. And I said, well, you're a bit early, because they were about 40 minutes early. And I said, oh, do you want to just sit in the hall, because we had a little sofa there, and I'll carry on getting ready. And I sort of staggered off. And I went and got ready, and when I came downstairs, they'd run away, right? Because I must have just looked so
insane,
odd.
Insane.
And I thought, they probably said, oh my God, I do not want to have this person as my yoga teacher. And they literally ran away, and we never saw them again.
No, there's probably an urban legend about that time we went to that house,
Yeah, that very, very weird woman. Oh,
anyway.
I digress. Anyway, let's
You
carry
digress.
On.
Anyway, you digress.
I digress.
For a change, sure. Well, let's be fair at the outset and recognise that Lao Tzu is a bit of a bugger for hyperbole. You know, a way of making a point through various styles of exaggeration. Right? Having said that, let's just examine what this first couple of lines says. You know, those who have true tai, that's virtue, you know, but virtue in this special sense that we've explained before. Tai is the virtue of the Tao itself. So, whatever the creative force is in the universe, the Tao, the Tao itself doesn't have any properties, but it exerts itself in the world through Tai, through its virtue. So, if an individual has that Tai, they're kind of participating in the energetics of the universe, rather than cultivating themselves to be brave or charitable or any of these virtues. It's virtue in that sense. So if somebody has true Tai, somebody who in a sense can channel the Tao, at least some of the time. Just put it as crudely as that. And so such a person is like a newborn baby, and that means in some respects like a newborn baby. But I think given all the other pieces of advice we get from Lao Tzu, he's not seriously suggesting that that is the only aspect of your being as a creature of Tai. He isn't suggesting that, but he's saying there's a part of you, there's an aspect of you that's like a newborn baby. And I say, well, what is that? What is that? You know, what's he referring to? And what are other philosophers referring to? Who do exactly the same thing that Lao Tzu is doing here, and light upon the figure of the child, the metaphor of the child, the symbol of the child, to explain all kinds of stuff about human life. I mean, Nietzsche, notably, in Zarathustra. But many other philosophers, and philosophers of play, as well as philosophers of the child. You know, Lao Tzu's one amongst many. Because you think about it, the human childhood is an astonishing thing. And the way it pans out, and the way it's culturally structured, and the way it's hedged around with customs and moralities and so forth. You can see it's like of real concern to political philosophers. And of course Lao Tzu is a political philosopher. You know, this is why Marxists have to team up with Freudians to try and figure out why the people haven't revolutionised society like decades ago. What are they waiting for? Don't they get it? So then the question leads immediately to the notion of the early human education, to child rearing practices and so forth. And education. That's why education gets to be so politicised in developed countries these days. So Lao Tzu's it's on about that, you know, it's on about the whole importance of childhood, and it's conceived in a particular way. It's like the newborn baby, right? The newborn baby is taken to be this sort of highly receptive, innocent, you know, like an innocency of the eyes, an innocency of the ears. Everything's fresh. And poets remark on this all the time, you know. Wordsworth remembering childhood, you know, intimations of immortality in early childhood. That's what he thought. He remembered his childhood, he just saw this glory of light, you know. And that is the conception of the child. You know, it's somehow having an innocency, or in the case of Nietzsche's account of the child, a second innocency. And extolling the virtues of that. Or somebody like Krishnamurti. He's always talking about how let your eyes be innocent. That kind of, as though you were a newborn baby and you greet the world fresh. And that is an aspect of having some relationship, at least, with the Tao. So anyway, that's just the first two lines. So it's pretty fertile, this. Then he goes on, and if they seem like this, They will not be stung by wasps or snakes or pounced on by animals in the wild or birds of prey. We've heard this before, haven't we? You know, no, the rhino can find no place to pierce its horn. And so forth, and this is a recurring theme, this martial arts theme of how you can kind of be invulnerable, or how you can be, or at least very, very well defended in a hostile world. Be like a baby. No resistance, it's not resistance. It's fluidity that matters in this respect. So, Lao Tzu's kind of martial arts points, you know. He goes on, a baby is weak and supple, but his hand can grasp your finger. He has no desires yet, and yet he can be erect. He can cry day and night without even getting hoarse. Such is the depths of his harmony. Now that's an interesting one. And pretty hyperbolic. But he points out the strength and the endurance and the abundance of life energy in babies. And whether it's joy or sorrow, whether babies like laughing and giggling for 4 hours or crying with discomfort for 4 hours, all the same. Here it is, it's like life is met with the same gusto in all circumstances. And Lao Tzu's admiring that, you know, admiring that freshness of energy and rawness of energy. Then he goes on, it's stupid to rush around. When you fight against yourself, it shows in your face. But if you draw your sap from your heart, you will be truly strong. You will be great. Again, he points out something, but by now we've heard him say quite a large number of times. He's take it easy. You know? Don't rush around. Just back off a bit. You know, take your time. Time to stop and stare. And you've heard this 1,000 times in the context of this Lao Tzu series. Equally, he recommends not grinding yourself away, getting on your own case too much. As he says, it will show on your face. And I suppose it's very sort of blunt advice. Don't do it. Don't do it. Then you'll be great. Well, how does this work? How does it work? So, Lao Tzu's offering us a couple of tweaks at this point. And they are two minor restraints, really, I suppose. You know, one, stop rushing around. You know. Take your time. Allow yourself to experience the unfolding of things at a nice, stately and graceful pace. Stop rushing around. Secondly, don't give yourself too hard a time. Grinding away at yourself with guilt and so forth. And draw, the third point is draw your sap from your heart. That's a sense of drawing your energy from the Tao. It's just by tuning in with the Tao through receptivity and allowing things to settle, being sort of quite settled, not over technical. And through that process, become acquainted with the Tao itself. It's great universal, whatever it is, generative force. And draw your energy from that. Subjectively, that can feel like drawing your sap from your heart. And all I've done there is rephrase it in the terminology of Lao Tzu's cosmology. Then you'll be great, and he's right. I think he's right, you know, this is whatever great means.
I think it just means happy. Does it just mean happy, really?
Yeah,
Happy and kind of living well.
living well.
Living well and harmoniously with yourself and everything around you.
Yeah, even in the time of the warring states,
Yeah.
that might mean you have to do things like organise distributed autonomous organisations or join the Communist Party, you know,
Yeah.
just whatever, you know. Sharpen your pitchfork, take your pick.
So by great, I think he just means living harmoniously with yourself and everything around you, and generally feeling pretty smashing, I would imagine.
Yeah, something like that. I think that's a nice picture of the virtue of
Being a baby.
being a tiny little baby, screaming all day and night.
Anyway, I hope everyone found that interesting and maybe a little bit useful too. Thank you for coming on our walk with us, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Have a good apocalypse, folks, and make knowledge great again.